Big chain pet stores like Petco and PetSmart have been responsible for the neglect, abuse, and murder of hundreds of thousands of mammals, birds, fish, and of course, reptiles. So today, let's examine where Petco and PetSmart get their animals from, how they're cared for, and why you should never shop from them again. Before we begin, I do have to warn you guys that some of the images and videos I'll be showing is pretty disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. A lot of the footage and videos comes from an undercover investigation that PETA conducted. I will be blurring out some of the more gory stuff, but if you are interested in the raw footage, I will link it down in the description below. But with that out of the way, guys, let's get straight into the video. The first thing we need to do is address where Petco and PetSmart actually get their animals from. No, they do not have a bunch of little green elves, in the back room of their stores, breeding and raising up these animals with love and care. These companies actually get all of their animals from animal mills, and these animal mills get their animals either by importing them from foreign countries or by breeding them in their own facilities. The husbandry conditions of these animals is nothing short of abysmal. You have these animals in these tiny enclosures, just filled with a bunch of piss and shit all over the place because no one has bothered to clean it up in months. Like they're just living in filth. Shelter. It's obvious that these animals are worth nothing to these people that run these mills. They house these animals in whatever they can find. Some of these animals are just living on top of each other, so they end up fighting and killing each other. And these mills are importing animals or breeding them for extremely cheap. So if an animal dies, they could care less. They'll just end up replacing it. So many of these animals are starving or dehydrated, and a lot of them don't get any care whatsoever during their entire stay at these mills. There's a lot of broken bones and torn off limbs caused either by other animals or by the workers because they don't care enough to literally not fucking slice an animal when they're unboxing them. There's also a lot of viruses and diseases going around, so that ends up killing a lot of these animals. And these workers don't remove the dead animals on a consistent basis, so the other animals are just left there living next to literally decomposing bodies, which then leads to more infections just going around and killing even more animals. These animals receive absolutely zero medical care when they are sick or injured. Management will just tell the workers to either euthanize the animal, euthanize it, like they just like smash them or throw them in a freezer or just throw them in the garbage, or just leave it on its own to die. And of course, it makes sense, right? Why would they spend money caring for these animals when they can just let it die and replace it for literally pennies, if that? They also have glue traps, which they use to catch any animals that have escaped, but they don't even check on these glue traps regularly, so they just come look at the glue traps. Like every few weeks. Find a bunch of dead animals on it and just throw it away. It's just awful, guys. Like the conditions of these breeding mills, and there's just no way that Petco and PetSmart can claim to care or love animals while being in bed with these breeding mills. Like, it's just straight up laughable at this point. Now that we've explored the conditions of these breeding mills, the first and most obvious reasons that you don't want to buy from these guys is due to the health of the animals. The animal that you are about to purchase has had absolutely horrible care its whole life up until now. Even the animals that you see up for display, a lot of the times they'll either look sick, skinny, dehydrated, whatever it may be. A lot of them will have underlying conditions such as parasites or respiratory infections. And it makes sense considering, where they came from and the kind of care they've received up until now. So if you do decide to purchase an animal from Petco or PetSmart, there's a good chance that it'll either end up dying or you'll have to spend hundreds of dollars at the vet to, try and nurse it back to good health. And even then, there's no guarantee that the animal would make it. If after hearing all that, you say something like, well, these poor animals have been through so much, let me give it a good home, you have a heart of gold and you're part of the problem. Now, I know that sounds harsh, but let me explain what I mean by that. Whenever you purchase an animal from one of these companies, of course, they're going to keep track of that sale and how much money they made from you. These are obviously companies that are in the business of making money, so they're going to check what's making them the most profit. Whenever you purchase from them an animal, you're incentivizing them to continue getting animals from these animal mills. The animal mills, in turn, are going to see that these big distributors are buying from them, so they're going to continue breeding or importing more animals. So for every animal that you're rescuing, they're basically just going to replace that animal that you bought and then just put another animal into those same horrible conditions, and it's just a never-ending cycle. Even if everybody in the world right now just went to like all the Petcos and PetSmarts and bought all the animals, like, you're just doing them a favor. Like, these animals are going to get replaced and nothing is actually getting done. Imagine that someone is selling a dozen cookies and you have found out that the cookies are being baked with an ingredient that's going to make people sick, right? So you go out and then you buy all these cookies and then you throw them away so that no one gets sick. Now, you had the right intentions, but you just gave the poison cookie man a bunch of money, which he's now going to use to buy ingredients to bake more cookies. And now the next time you see him, he's not selling a dozen cookies, he's selling 100 of them. When you rescue an animal from these big chain pet stores, you're really just promoting bad practice by giving your hard-earned money to a company that doesn't give a single fuck about the well-being of their animals. They just see them as tools that they can use to profit instead of as an actual living thing. So instead, if you're interested in purchasing an animal, you should go to a local breeder or a local reptile store that actually does a good job in caring and raising their animals. Those are my thoughts on these companies and why I think it's important that we don't give them our business. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm being too harsh on these companies? Do you guys have any solutions that you can offer to this problem? Let me know down below, guys. I'm always interested in a good discussion. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button for me and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I know today's video was kind of depressing, but I promise they're not all like this. I'll link a couple fun ones at the end just to kind of lighten the mood. But yeah, guys, that wraps it up for today's video. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy your reptiles or amphibians.